to another edition of Christy's Court on the Field of 68 Network. We are thrilled, beyond thrilled, to have the head coach of the Oregon Ducks women's basketball program, Kelly Graves, joining us today on Christy's Court. Coach Graves, welcome. Welcome to Christy's Court.
Oh, Christy, thanks for asking me. It's a pleasure to be here. I like that, Christy's Court. I could kind of steal that and call it Kelly's Court.
See, there you go.
At some point.
I like that. I like it a lot.
And I love your background there.
Oh, well, it was from long ago, but it's still up there on the wall. So there's that. I appreciate that. Hey, let's take it all the way back to when you were at Utah with your dad, and you used to watch the games right there while he was working at the games. And what would that Kelly Graves say to the Kelly Graves of today after the evolution from that moment to now? What would you say?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't very deep back then. Actually, I'm not too deep now. But man, did I not have the greatest childhood? A dad who was into every sport and used to work at the University of Utah. And so when I was a kid from, 5, 6, 7 years old on, I would go to the games early with him and be there an hour and a half before and sit and watch the games and meet the players and the coaches. And then after the game, we drive home and listen to the post game. I mean, my God, what a great childhood memory to have. So I owe a lot to my dad. But back then, though, Christy, I'll tell you what, later on, I got a job as an usher at those very same games. I was the absolute worst usher in the world because they always gave me the season ticket holder section so everybody knew where to go. And I would just sit down and watch the game. I paid absolutely no attention to the patrons. So, yeah, but it was a fun way to grow up.
Yeah, no doubt. I did not know that you also served as an usher at those games. That's awesome.
Oh, Christy, I would work to football games too, and I would sell concessions.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I would be one of those guys lugging those big heaters, with hot dogs, and then I'd do pop. I did it all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have an extreme appreciation for the full team and what that looks like. So that's a part of that journey for you.
It's not just the team and the coaches down on the court, right? Everybody makes the experience what it is. And there's nothing better than college basketball. So, yeah, there's a lot of hard workers out there that don't get too much credit. And by the way, tip your concession people and your ushers. You know what I mean? When they do something for you, tip them.
That's right. That's right. Got to show some gratitude and some respect. I appreciate that. And I love that, actually. You started playing basketball in high school and everything like that. You were 6'5" in high school, or was that like a later growth spurt for you? You were a shooter, right? You could shoot the three a little bit, when you went to college.
Yeah, I think I was always this tall. Yeah, I was a pretty tall guard way back when. The Dixie Flyers, class of 1981, St. George, Utah. Nice. I'll give all my guys a shout out down there. And yeah, I was always kind of an off guard that played a little bit of point. The only reason I played point was then the ball was in my hand so I could shoot it. There were no excuses.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I know when you went off to college, you started at junior college and then you went on to New Mexico. So when you didn't get recruited, your senior year, now as a mega recruiter right now, you were at Gonzaga before and now at Oregon when you're recruiting the best of the best, right? So when you didn't get recruited out of high school, what kind of approach did you take to playing at the next level?
Well, I just continued to work hard. I loved the game. I wasn't that concerned. I figured, I could have gone to 4-year schools, but I had my sights set on Division I. I really wanted to be a Division I basketball player and play as high, at the highest level I could. Yeah. I had deficiencies. I wasn't much of an athlete. I definitely played below the rim. But I could make a good entry pass. I was a great out of bounds passer. Back then, Christy, it's really funny. My senior year in college was the first year of the 3-pointer. And so, growing up, the theory was always get the ball as close as you can to the basket.
Right.
And, it's really changed since then. I actually would be probably more relevant today than I was then. But, yeah, I'm glad I went to junior college. It was a great experience. I played a lot and played against some really good competition, and it prepared me for my last 2 years.
Yeah, no doubt. And you went to New Mexico and played there and had a great time. I heard you shot about 42% from range. You shot 42% from three.
Yeah, something like that. And like I said, in the only year, my senior year, and it was really funny. You would check yourself looking down at your feet to make sure you were behind the line. Now it's just part of how we play. But
Sure.
back then you had to think about it. So yeah, I think for 1 year, I think I made 70 something threes and at a pretty decent clip.
Love it.
Like I said, if it was today, I think I'd be much better.
I love that. I love that story. And, I know that you have a strong appreciation, as you said, for your ushers and the concession people, but, you also have a lot of respect for the junior college coaches because you became one at Big Bend Junior College and you were there. And what was that experience like for you and the respect that you gained from coaching at that level to now?
Christy, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm glad that I made the steps that I made. Right now at Oregon, I'm blessed. We get absolutely everything we want or need, and a lot of things that we don't even want or need. Just an abundance of everything here, and I really have a great appreciation for it because my first job at Big Bend Community College, out of college, was as the men's assistant coach, and my salary, believe it or not, was $1,250. So I was plowing potato fields. That's potato country up there in Moses Lake, Washington. I was plowing potato fields at 5 o'clock every morning just to make enough money to pay my $100 a month rent. I was renting out a basement from one of our boosters. And I picked up some odd jobs here and there, but I really wanted to coach, and that's what I needed to do. And so I spent 1 year as the men's assistant at $1,250, and the women's job opened up, and I really had no visions of coaching the women's team, but they paid $2,500 and they gave me a room in the dorm. So it was like, oh, this was a no-brainer. And that's when I got into it. But I'm sure glad that I did because, you didn't have an assistant coach. So I was doing, you didn't have managers or anything like that. So I was doing the laundry after every practice. I was sweeping the floors on game day. I'd pull the bleachers out, set the score clock up. You did everything. And so it really has made me appreciate what I have now. And I wish all coaches had the opportunity to kind of do the same thing, because I think we'd all be a little more humble and appreciative of what we're given.
No question. No question. And that's the truth of it all, just to see things for truly what they are and the experiences of the sacrifice that you have to make to be the only coach there, no managers, no assistant coaches. So you're doing all the scouting, all the washing, everything. Wow. That's the sacrifice, but
you know what? Looking back, it was one of my most favorite coaching positions ever. I loved it there, and I stay in touch with those players. That was back in like 1988,
okay.
88. And, I still stay in touch with a lot of those players now. I know several of them have gone on as high school coaches and won state championships, and I've recruited some of their players. And, it was, listen, that was a great experience for me. I'm glad I did it.
Oh, that's a perfect connection. That's a perfect connection because you went on to Gonzaga. And, I know that we've had discussions about your time there and Courtney Vandersloot and the player that she was. And, you've had some greats. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu, she obviously was like a record breaker for you as a senior at Oregon, but Courtney Vandersloot was a 2,000 point scorer, 1,000 assists, the leader in assists in the program. And what can you say about what makes those kinds of players work well for you in your system and your philosophy of coaching?
Well, first of all, they're both quality people. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're obviously very talented players, and I think we have a system that fits them, gives them some freedom. But they're just both great competitors and great people. And it's funny there. I would put those two up as two college guards. I would put those up with any two that any coach has ever coached. Maybe Gino with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. That's certainly a formidable pair too. But, you're looking at two potential Hall of Famers in my two players as well. And, it's kind of interesting. Karen Barefoot, who's the head coach at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, was the first player and only player to get 2,000 points and 1,000 assists in a career. She did that as a non-Division I player. And then Courtney Vandersloot became the first to do it, men or women, at the Division I level. And then Sabrina one-upped her and added not only the 2,000, 1,000, but then another 1,000 in rebounds. And so, to be able to have coached the only two Division I players, male or female, to do what they've done, I think speaks to, number one, they had great players around them. But I think number two, the system that they played in, and, and our ability to allow them to be themselves. And, I'm really thankful for those two. I've told them that anytime we're together, dinner's on me for the rest of their lives, because, I owe a lot to them. I owe everything to them, really.
Yeah. Well, they understood you and what your expectations were of them. And that's why they're continuing to excel in the WNBA. And speaking of the WNBA, you had 3 top picks in the WNBA draft last year. And everyone's like, well, okay, Oregon's going to be rebuilding. And you're just reloading. And I think you have even more depth, which is unfathomable, really, than last year's team. But when you lose that much production on both sides, and Sabrina's rebounding prowess, and Satu Sabli, and you just have all of these numbers that are now missing from your system, how do you then recruit and bring in the players that can change things? Ruthie Hubbard inside, like, what kinds of things do you have to do to emulate what you want?
Well, it just goes to show you, I think we've built now a national program that can withstand those kind of losses. Nobody asked Gino or, Muffet when she was still coaching, or Kim Mulkey or Tara VanDerveer. Not that I'm in their class by any stretch, but I mean, they lose great players every year too, and they just keep it going. And I think, I feel like we've become that kind of a program as well. I think we can sustain, this success. I sure hope so. I mean, we have a long way to go, and we're really young, but you don't replace Ruthie Hebert and Satu Sabali and Sabrina Ionescu. We don't have anybody like that now, but we have players that are young and getting better and have the opportunity and ability to make their own splash and have a great career. So hopefully we can keep this going. Certainly for the next few years, I think we're going to be a force. We've got a lot of really good young players that are only going to get better, and they're going to get playing together better.
Yeah, quite honestly. I mean, I was just looking at some numbers, and, the points per 100 possessions for your team last season, 123.5. And this year through 5 games, it's 123.1. So the system is well in place, but the balance that your team has displayed, I think, has been most impressive. You have 5 players this year averaging in double figures, and you have only 2 players who aren't averaging double figure minutes. So you go deep into that bench, Coach. And what does that feel like? Because not everyone can go that deep into their bench, especially now with having the truncated summer and just getting that chemistry, no exhibition games. So you going deep into the bench, what's the philosophy behind that?
Well, to be honest with you, it's kind of a pain because it's hard to manage a lot of minutes, and a lot of players. I think most coaches would love to have, a solid rotation of 8, maybe 9 on a really good year. But, so it's made it difficult. I have a lot of players that have earned playing time. And so we're trying, at least early in the year, to play as many players as we can and give them a chance to see what works best. But yeah, I guess, Christy, the bright side is, if there was ever a year to have a lot of depth, 2020, 21 would be the year, because you just don't know, when a player or two might have to be out because of the coronavirus. And so, we're battling through it. I'm really impressed with my team, though, because they've bought into the team concept. I've been very open about it. And at some point, we're going to have to tighten the rotation. That's just natural. But right now, I really feel like I'm just giving everybody a chance because I think they've earned it in practice. Through 5 games, I think we may have even had 5 different scoring leaders.
Yeah.
So I think when you do play us, you're going to, we can go big, we can go small, we can shoot the 3, we can play more of a power game. I think we can beat teams in different ways. Now we just got to start putting it together and continue to get better. But I really like my team. No question about it.
Yeah, a lot of people love your team just because of the way that they play. They play hard, they compete together. But you have said that this is probably the best, if not one of the best shooting teams that you've ever coached. And that's a huge statement because I know you don't say that freely. What is it about this team that makes you feel that way?
Well, there's proof in the numbers, just the ones. I don't think we've shot it that well this year. I mean, by most people's standards, we're shooting it well. But you look at Erin Boley, who's made well over 200 3-pointers. Actually, I think she's close to probably 300 3-pointers in her career at a 44% clip. Taylor Mikesell's made 185 in her 2 seasons at a 43% clip. Taylor Chavez shot 47% last year from the 3, including over 50 in league play. And then Jazz Shelley is well over 50%, made 10 threes in a game. So, and that doesn't even include our freshmen. Sydney Parrish, one of the best shooters in the country coming in. Maddie Shear can really shoot it. Angela Duglich. So we can put, 3 or 4 snipers on the court at any given time. And it just makes us hard to guard. So those are proven college players. And then, I'm not a hyperbolic coach, I guess. I don't really throw that out there unless I truly believe in it. And I do believe that this is a great shooting team. And I've had some good ones over the years.
Oh, no doubt. Which is why when I saw that, I was like, wow, he doesn't just say it randomly.
Well, and then people get on me when I say, well, this is the most talented team I've had. And I believe that to be the case. And people go, but my goodness, look at what you just lost. I said, yeah, but they were once young too. We've got, 7 McDonald's All-Americans on our team. We've got, just a wealth of talent. Niara Sabali, who wasn't eligible for any of those. Jazz, she's going to be an Olympian someday. Jazz Shelley's on the Australian senior national team. You're talking about a lot of players who can really bring it. Now, our job is to just get them together, and get us playing as a team. But we'll have some ups and downs. But Christy, I predict by March we're going to be a really tough out. Yeah,
I concur. I agree 100% with that. And, I saw that very young team from the era before with Sabrina and Satu and Ruthie. They were all freshmen and sophomores, whatever. And that was that run you took in 2017, I believe, to the Elite 8. I was in Durham for those 2 games where you beat.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You did those games. I remember that. Yes. I
did. And I told you at the end of that, after you beat Duke in Durham to advance to the Sweet 16, I told you that, I'd only been around your team, 4 or 5 days, but I fell in love with the atmosphere and just the family feel of everyone involved, from the PR and from the players, the managers. Everyone was just so welcoming, inviting, and it was just so free and fun. And that's what basketball should be. And I know I told you that right in the hallways there at Cameron Indoor, right when I was about to leave. I said, I have to tell you that I don't want to leave your team. It's like I want to follow you on through, because there was just that vibe, that connection that you have created along with your staff that, you can't measure that. You can't teach that, and you can't just give it away. That's something that's manufactured, that is instilled. And I still believe that to this day. So from that day, I've been a fan of yours, and I tweet to you sometimes. I'm just like, that's so great, because that's what we need. We need that in our game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And thanks for those kind words, Christy. And, and I don't think we've changed. Back then during that run, Gino said it best. We ultimately met him in the Elite 8, and they were on that 110 game winning streak, and we were no match for them. But going into that, he said, because we started 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores that year. Yeah. And he goes, these kids don't realize this is supposed to be hard. Right. You're not supposed to come in and just start beating people. And so we were playing with, a happy-go-lucky attitude then. But, I don't think it's changed. I think if you hung around us even today and last year when there was obviously more pressure on our players, I think you would see the same team. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We love each other. We love what we do. There's synergy between players and coaches. I know a lot of coaches and players, for some reason, they just kind of butt heads a little bit. And, we're just kind of all in it together. And that family feel, I'm glad that you picked that up, because that's something that we take pride in. I feel real strongly about the fact that, we get the right players that fit our culture and our program. And, and then, we just make it work and we have fun. But it's about getting the right players, and we of those 5 freshmen, all of whom were McDonald's All-Americans, all 5 were their Gatorade State National Players of the Year, or Gatorade State Players of the Year. All 5 won state championships. Yeah. So they know what it takes to win. They've been around success. And so they know that you have to make sacrifices sometimes. So it all just kind of fits. And I think we've got a nice thing going. I just, again, hope that we can keep it going, not only on the courts, but in the recruiting battles as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I wanted to keep it going and get on that bus with you that night. I remember.
Hey, you're welcome anytime, man. I'll tell you, we'd love to have you. But I do remember that, Yeah. Christy, you remember the first game? We were a 10 seed and we played Temple, and Temple had obviously a really good team. And that was one of the best games of the tournament, went back and forth. And Ruthie Hebert made a shot with about, 4 seconds left to put us up by 1. Yeah. And then she got a fingertip on their layup to win the game. Yeah. And, people forget that was probably the biggest shot in our program history, because if we don't win that game, we're just another, 10 seed that lost in the first round. Oh, they got some good young kids that, it's a team to watch in the future. But then we knocked off number 2 Duke, and we beat them by about 15. I mean, it wasn't really that close. Yeah. And then we knocked Maryland off, who was the 3 seed. Yep. And then the rest is history. The next year we go into the season with high expectations and a young team that now believed. And then since then we then won the next 3 Pac-12 championships. And so, but if we don't make that shot, right, who knows how it goes? Exactly. So, and I know your wife was there, Mary, and your sons, Max, Jackson, and Will. And I saw some footage from when you were in college. You were in that Wendy's commercial. And your sons look exactly like you. You're all 3. I'm sorry for them. I'd like to think they look like Mom, but Christy, I'm really blessed. I have a family who loves sports. They love basketball, especially. All 3 of my sons are in the sport. Yeah. My wife, first of all, played basketball, so she understands it. All her brothers were athletes and her dad's into it. So it's been part of her life. Thank goodness, because she really understands it. She's been my best assistant coach. I mean, she is just dialed in with what I should do with the team when I have issues. And just to show you how special she is for my team, Sabrina could choose one person to be with her, to go with her and spend the 2 days at the Kobe Memorial. Just to escort her and be with her the whole time. And she chose Mary, my wife, to be with her the entire time. And so, she's really important to our program. And then, my youngest son, Will, he plays basketball for Gonzaga. He's on the men's basketball team. And we were joking last year, we were both hoping that we could get a national championship. It was denied us, but he's still up there playing. My middle son, Jack, is still going to school, but he's coaching a community college women's basketball team. And then my oldest son, Max, works for the Dallas Mavericks in their player personnel or player development. So it's kind of nice to enjoy the sport with my family, because they're all into it equally as I am. Yeah. And they were all there. And I love that too. After the game, they were right there with you. They're right there with you in the hallway. And I love that. Well, during that game, that Duke game, my middle son, Jack, started spouting up. I told him to shut up during the game because the men's team, Duke team, had lost that day, and then we were winning, but their football team won a bowl game or I don't know, something like that. He was spouting off like, Duke's a football school, really loud. But they're the best hecklers. Oh my goodness. They're about as good as it gets, man. They are really funny. And they get personal.
Yeah.
So you better have thick skin if you're an opponent of ours and they start in on you, because you're going to hear it.
I love it. I love it. They love dad, support dad at all costs. I love that. It's so sweet. And just with, with everything going on and the family feel that you have created there at Oregon, like during this period of, the spring and the summer, you lost out in March, just on that run that would have been a magical one for women's basketball in general, but definitely for your program. And to go through the summer that we all went through with the social injustice piece, and COVID is out there and there are so many things pulling these young minds, and with getting the year back, there's so much to contemplate if you're a student athlete in 2020 and 2021. So what kinds of educational or linchpins or standing in the gap modes do you have created there for Oregon and your players, the student athletes, but not just for them, but for you as coaches? Like in the coaches realm, like you have to lead them, but you also need to know where you're taking them. So who leads you all in that regard?
Wow, that's a really loaded question. You got a lot to unpack there. This has been, like you just said, it's just a crazy year. I don't know certainly probably you've never been through, anything like this. And I feel for them. I feel for this generation, especially these young freshmen that we have who didn't get a lot of the things that, make high school special and, defining moments in your life, proms and graduation and a state tournament. And then, it's just so much that they had to miss out on. I really feel for them. And I think that's why being part of a family becomes so important. I mean, we can share with each other and rely on each other and talk through things. To be honest with you, in May and June, when a lot of the social issues came to the forefront, I was taken aback, and I didn't know really how to navigate that through that myself, let alone help my team. And so I relied on coaching friends and mentors of mine and former players. Satu Sabali really helped me through a lot of this, and by the way, she's a great follow on social media. You're talking about maybe a future president of the Players Association and maybe a future chancellor of Germany. I mean, she is incredibly bright and socially aware. And so, but we communicated. That's, me, I'm a communicator. My feelings are out there, and I'm not afraid to say, I don't know, and I need help. And we talked through this a lot on Zooms, and I had professionals come in, and then we talked through it. And then with the COVID stuff, just the sacrifices we've made our players undertake has been incredible, and I give them a lot of credit for fighting through this. We couldn't practice until October. We couldn't do anything live, and even then we had to stay with masks. And these players are from all over the country, and they're saying, well, my friend that plays in this program, they've been maskless since June, and they've been doing this and they've been doing that. It was all over the place. I said, well, you're in Oregon, this is how we have to do things. And so I just think it goes to show you, Christy, there's some things that are just really important. One of them is love. And you have got to have love for the people that you're around each and every day. I think it's just critical, and cherish each and every moment. I think of everything that I've learned, don't take anything for granted. Tomorrow is not promised you. So you've got to make the most of today. And that's kind of the attitude we've tried to take as a program. And I think it's really helped us. So there's a lot going on, man. This world is crazy right now in lots of different ways. And, the whole political thing, I mean, we talked through that. I got kids from red states. I got kids from blue states. I know I have some from very conservative families and liberal families. And I mean, you're in Oregon, man. Every drug known to humankind's legal in our state. So you know what we're dealing with out here. So, it's been a lot of fun, and interesting, but I think it's really brought us closer together as a team. Sorry for the long answer.
No, I love that. I love that because it really helps me, I think, as a parent too. I mean, I have 3 teenagers and I coach high school basketball. So it really helps to hear how you process through everything, because you're right. Like, we don't have a blueprint for how to handle what is going on. Everything is so brand new and everything is basically exposed, and we have to figure out a way to make it work in a safe way. And the sacrifices are very vital, obviously. And the importance of the WNBA in that, I mean, you mentioned Satu Sabally being a sounding board for you, just to have the league have the summer that they did and to utilize the voices the way that they did. What did that mean for your players? And when you discussed everything that was going on, did you point to the WNBA and the inclusivity and the total inclusion that they had with everyone involved? How did that go with the players and how did that impact them?
Well, I applaud the WNBA and the NBA, quite frankly. I thought they both did a great job, and not just making the bubbles work. Okay. We got a product, and a really good product, actually. But I loved how they stuck to message and made that a priority, especially the WNBA. And I think that was really powerful, and just goes to show you that when we put our minds to something, we can really bring those issues to light and make change happen. I think it's critical, and it's still, they've influenced my players. I have a few players that kneel, and I will always support them in that. I personally wouldn't, during the national anthem, but hey, that's their right. And as long as they can, to me, this is important. If they can articulate why they're doing it and then what they're doing about it, I think action is important. Let's not just do it because LeBron James did it. Let's do it because, A, you really feel strongly about it. And then how are you helping the community be better because of it? Instead of just kneeling. So I think the action component is important, and nobody acted better than the WNBA. They were out there, and that comes from great leadership, from the commissioner on down. So I applaud them, and I'm really proud that my players are part of that.
Yeah. And what have you learned most just through everything so far, and where you are today with the season and not really knowing what the future looks like? And I know you said to stay in the moment and cherish every moment that you have, but how have you been stretched as a father, as a coach, and a mentor because of what has gone on?
I've been stretched because I don't know all the answers. Don't we always look to our parents for having answers? Yeah. What should I do? And then players looking to their coach, and I've been vulnerable a little bit. I'm trying to figure this out and make the best decisions that I can. That's been tough. That's been tough. I think for me, the worst part has just been the pain and fear and that you see across society. I think that's what's really lost in all this. I mean, we're a country that's hurting, a world that's hurting. We have so much poverty and just division. And I think this pandemic has just brought in all that to a peak. And we just got to treat each other better, man. It's crazy what's going on. So I think that has been a help for me. I've realized, okay, sometimes I'm too into my team and too into what I do, and I need to think outside and what can help others. So hopefully that is one of the good things that will come from this. But honestly, Christy, I've struggled like everybody else. You try to put on a good face and fake it sometimes, but this thing's real. I'm fortunate enough. If you look behind, I don't know, you're probably not going to see a visual, but we're fortunate to have a place up in Central Oregon. I gave the team off today, and so I made it's a couple hours. I drive up here, and it's a beautiful drive, and I have a chance to kind of get away and refresh a little bit. So I'm blessed for that. But that's helped in this whole thing, is just the time to reflect.
Yes, no question.
And we've had our players journaling this year. Sometimes we prompt them, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe go home and spend a few minutes. The mental health has become a real big issue We've tried to stay on top of it the entire time. I think we're doing it the right way, but we've really engaged our players in lots of different ways than I would normally do, through this time, because I think they really need help.
Yeah, they do. And do they share their entries with you all, or is that something that they just keep for themselves?
Yeah, both. Some do. Every once in a while we'll say, hey, like when we had our first game, I just said, hey, tonight, the night before the game, this might be a good opportunity to just journal what it feels like for 7 of you to have never played a college basketball game. What are your thoughts? What are your fears? That kind of stuff. And so every once in a while, we'll ask them if anybody wants to share any of their entries. And some do, but most keep them pretty private. Right. And we don't always prompt them. We've wanted them to write, each week, 3 things that they want to accomplish by the end of the week. And then have a kind of a thank you journal, 3 things that you're thankful for each and every day. We'd like them to, to write those down.
I love that. That's a perfect idea. And I think that is helpful for mental health. And I can see behind you, and it's gorgeous behind you.
It's a little snow on the ground out there, but lots of pine trees. It's beautiful right up here in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
Oregon's a beautiful place. So all your listeners, if they want to have a great summer vacation when we're allowed to,
right.
Well, heck, you can come out and be in the outdoors. You got everything here in Oregon. It's beautiful. Mountains, coast, everything.
Yeah, that's definitely the woosah that we all need, that scenery there in Oregon. And, the Pac-12, as we wind up here, the Pac-12 has always been magnificent in terms of the competitive nature and the competitive fire from each team. But to see Tara VanDerveer become the winningest coach in women's basketball versus Pacific the other night, what went through your mind when the buzzer went off and you saw her being showered with love by her team, and they gave her that, that big fuzzy jacket that said T-Dog on it? Like, what went through your mind at that moment? Because that's a coach who has meant so much to our game.
Yeah, pretty cool deal. She owes me a rebate check because a lot of those wins are against me. So, but I was so happy for her. It's funny. I've really come to appreciate her a lot more than I did. Even my first couple of years in the league. I think she and I align on a lot of our philosophies, not only how to coach and play, but philosophies in life. And I just really come to appreciate her. She's loved by her team. You can tell. I've learned a lot from her over the years, watching her and playing against her. Talk about preparation and, just class. She's class epitomized. And so I'm happy to see it's going to be quite a race between her and Gino now to see who's going to stay on top. They both got many years left, and they're both got great programs. So good on her. She deserved that moment, I think, last night.
Yes. And what an excellent way to put a cap on this conversation. But I wanted to just see if you had anything else that you wanted to share that we may not know. I did not know about the potato fields and the sacrifice at 5 a.m. I did not know about the salary of the women's coaching job at being $2,500. You took that. What is something out there that maybe a lot of people would not know about you that you would like to share?
Wow. I'm kind of an open book. Nothing really. I mean, family's really important to me, Christy. Not just the team, but really family. That always comes first. I tell every recruit and their parents, I make every decision based on that first and foremost. No, nothing really interesting that's going to get you more listeners for sure. I apologize for that, but
like writer, like what do you like to do? I know you like the scenery and everything up there, but do you go for walks?
Okay, here's one. I think it's fairly well documented. I lost my mom at Halloween when I was 9 years old, and so Halloween's always been a big deal to me. I go all out and have a huge haunted house every year. Didn't this year. It was kind of disappointing, but we get thousands of people. When I was in Spokane, it was huge because I was in one of those neighborhoods that buses would come in to trick or treat because we gave good stuff away, and we would get a few thousand people that would come through my haunted house up there. One of the local weathermen would do his live Halloween night remote from my driveway, and those kind of things. So yeah, Halloween. I'm Mr. Halloween. It's something I love to do. I'll send you some video from some of our past ones.
Oh, that would be great. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And I love that you took time out of your day today to spend some time on Christy's Court on the Field of 68 Network. Kelly Graves, thank you, and have a great rest of the season. And I'm cheering for you. I really am.
Yeah. Thank you, Christy. It was an honor, and happy holidays to you and all your listeners. Okay.
Yes. So happy holidays to you and your family.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.